The Hinsdale House in New York was thrown under the paranormal spotlight after a book was published by a past resident, claiming that her family had been tormented by spirits so ominous, even the church couldn't help. Hey there, dissectors. Today we're going to explore the dark history and hauntings of Hinsdale House on McMahon Road in Hinsdale, New York, also affectionately referred to as the Dandy House, in memory of the family that was chased away by sinister spirits in the early 1970s. At the end of this episode, I leave it up to you to decide whether the home is truly haunted or whether you believe evidence has been exaggerated over time, leading it to be more of an urban legend. Now, by all accounts, if they're to be believed, the Dandy family really went through some terrible horrors. But what brought about the many spirits that are said to reside here, as overall, there is very little known about its history. It's been labelled the most haunted house in New York State by some, and was originally built in 1853 by two brothers named David and Charles Everett. Overall, the past residents didn't seem to have any tragedies to cause the hauntings. There was Alfred Burton and his family, who moved there in 1861, followed by the McMahons, who lived there for 70 years. They became such a known family in the area that the road leading to the property was named after them. But then the Dandy family moved there from 1970 until 1974. Phil and Clara had high hopes for their new home when they moved in with their 4 children named Mike, Beth, Laura and Mary. Clara Miller, as she's now known since her divorce from Phil in 1980, decided to share their story in her book titled Echoes of a Haunting. So let's see what kind of paranormal activity was said to go on and what possible reasons there could be for such angry spirits. At first, the Dandy family noticed small things like chanting coming from the woods nearby that seemed to echo at night. And numerous strange phone calls. Now, not wanting to believe that there was something darker going on in their new home, they put these experiences down to overactive imaginations. But they were about to be proven wrong, as life at home got much worse. You see, every member of the family started to witness apparitions around the house, from creepy human-animal hybrids to the spirit of a woman in white, and more sinister yet, entities that can only be described as demonic. One of the most terrifying tales described was when one evening the whole family saw movement from the corner of their eyes, bringing their attention to the windows in the room. Staring back at them were unfamiliar figures with odd-looking faces. Thinking that they may be intruders, Phil ran outside to confront the strangers, but was stunned to see them still standing there, but this time staring back at him from inside the house. I honestly can't begin to imagine how utterly terrifying that must have been for Phil and the rest of the family. But this was just the start of their paranormal journey at Hinsdale House. You see, from here the spirits really upped their game. Items began to levitate around the property, and apparently one object was thrown at one of the daughters with extreme force. And even when spirits weren't showing themselves to the family, they made themselves known in other horrifying ways, like banging noises travelling along the walls, lights that would turn on and off by themselves, and the feeling of something evil lingering, watching their every move. There were even disembodied voices, as well as numerous car issues and accidents. Now, by this point, the family felt like they were losing their minds, and so reached out for help. A father, Alphonsus Trebold from St. Bonaventure University, came to the house to see what was going on, along with a team of paranormal investigators. After an exploration of the house, they all agreed it was haunted and decided to perform an exorcism. But only a few days later, the hauntings began again, and this time the spirits seemed even more pissed off. For the safety of their family and sanity, the Dandy family moved out, never looking back. One local man named Jim Kelly took a number of photographs of the grounds of Hinsdale House and noticed ghostly apparitions staring back at him from the developed pictures, all in clothing from different eras. Some of the ghosts were alarming to look at, but due to Jim showing an interest in them, they decided to follow him home. Luckily, the ones that did are peaceful and now show up in pictures he takes at his own house or other locations. But why is the house so haunted? There are a few theories to this, and none are pretty stories. Firstly, it's believed that the house was built on or around the site of a Native American massacre which occurred in 1799. This idea may have some truth behind it, as a tour guide named Mary Ball claimed that her son was looking out of a bedroom window one day, watching his father tend to a campfire in the garden. Suddenly he asked his mother, who's the angry Indian staring at Daddy? Now, worth noting here is that the young boy knew nothing of the supposed history of Hinsdale House. There is also said to be a hanging tree on the grounds of the property where a young pregnant woman was killed. I'm pretty sure if that's true, the spirit of the lady would be quite vengeful. There is a pond close by where at least one person was killed. Also, during the 1800s, there's a rumour that two brothers who spent their time robbing stagecoaches and murdering people would actually hide their victim's body in the cellar of the house before burying them in the spring when the ground was softer. What do you think? Could one or more of these reasons be why Hinsdale House is so haunted? Or do you believe the real reason may never be discovered? Let me know in the comments below. Today, the house is owned and maintained by Daniel Clace, a paranormal investigator who saved the house from being demolished. He hopes to discover the dark secrets behind the walls of this property and find out who haunts here and why. But one thing is for sure, the property is still very active, and sadly, it's believed that it's gained a couple of new spirits in recent years. Laura Dandy, Clara and Phil's daughter, always felt like she would die young, and sadly in 1992, just 18 days away from celebrating her 32nd birthday, her premonition came true. Now her spirit has been seen inside the house she ran away from all those years ago. But maybe she was drawn back to Hinsdale because she was one of the family members most affected by the haunting. After the Dandy family moved out, the property was sold to a couple named Edward and Florence Misnick, who both died while still living in the house. The spirit of Florence has been witnessed walking around her once loved home by Daniel himself. It's been reported that the spirits are just as active, with many seasoned paranormal investigators claiming that after visiting the house, they were left with horrible nightmares which lasted for months. So if you decide to take a trip to visit this property and maybe do a little investigating of your own, take warning, you may be biting off more than you can chew. Well, dissectors, what do you think about today's haunted location? Do you believe the tales of the paranormal that go back decades, or do you think it's all just a bunch of creepy stories and nothing more? Like any place that has been around for many years, life has a way of leaving its mark, so there is a strong chance that the hauntings are true. But like anything, people can also exaggerate. One story I did find creepy was the faces at the window. Anyway, I hope this video finds you well, my friends, and until next time, stay safe out there.